Welcome, everyone. Oh, man, what a great opening session we had. I think that was amazing and awesome. Oh, my goodness. We're going to let everyone just take a couple minutes, right? We said 10:05, but let's give them a couple minutes, Brandy. I think we can have some lovely chit chat and kind of tell our story of how we're connected.
Yeah.
Yes. So let me just say that I started my after school career in 1998.
1938.
Yeah, that's what it feels like some days. At the Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield, and that's Springfield, Missouri. Not, there's like a Springfield Simpson in every state or whatever that means. I started out as a work study from, at the time, Southwest Missouri State University, now Missouri State University. And so I was paid $4.25 an hour to be the games room coordinator.
Oh my gosh. We pay a little bit more now.
Yeah. But that's where I started. And I was with the Boys and Girls Club for 8 years. I left them. But Brandy is the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Springfield, full circle. Yeah. She also lived in Lawrence. I'm a huge KU fan. We have some Rock Chalk Jayhawk connection through that. But really, we have just connected from Boys and Girls Club worlds. I think the first time I met Brandy was a Midwest regional conference. I couldn't tell you where, maybe Pittsburgh, maybe, I don't know. She was so energetic. And I was like, who is this person? And, we went out and had a lovely time. It was great.
I learned so much. Your presence is still very much at Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield. I will never forget first learning about the brain and then learning that you invented the brain, and now it is a staple at each one of our locations. So
great. I hope we can, let's talk about the end if we have time, because I think that will leave people hanging. But let me just kind of do a quick introduction and then I'm gonna let you take over, Brandy.
Okay.
So Brandy, Chief Executive Officer for the Boys and Girls Club of Springfield, Missouri. You began your professional career in 2008 as a high school teacher at Hillcrest High. So that's like a Northside school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got involved in the Boys and Girls Club movement in 2011 in Lawrence, Kansas, and then moved back to Springfield in 2013 as a program director at Henderson. Then you were the unit director at the Sertoma unit in 2017. You were promoted to director of programs, and now you have a speech communication degree from Drury University and a master's in early childhood education from Missouri State. Man, you're in so many things. Committees like the Mayor's Commission for Children, Cox Health Young Professionals Council, Prosper Springfield Equity and Prosperity Commission, Stronger Together. My gosh, I can't even say it.
Just stop talking about it, Bill.
Okay.
It's so embarrassing.
Like, you're an awesome person and a great friend, and I'm proud to know you. And here we are, Brandy.
Oh, everybody, please sit down. Stop clapping. Okay. Thank you so much. I am beyond honored to be here. I want to sincerely thank the South Dakota After School Summit and Billy for inviting me here today to share part of my story. And I want to thank all of you for choosing this session and for coming here today. I am so excited and honored to talk about the thing that I care about so much. And I always love to start any presentation off with what to expect. I don't like surprises. And also I want to know like how I can multitask during the Zoom session. Hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully I will have you engaged the entire time, but we are already complete with the first thing. We've welcomed each other. I'm so happy to see everyone here. I wish I could see your faces, but I assume I can't because internet stuff. I'm going to have a kind of interactive session with you today. So anyone who feels comfortable with sharing in the chat, I have it up so I can view it. So we've done our welcome. I'm going to talk to you about leading with purpose. I've kind of broken that up into leading with purpose in your professional life and your personal life. And while those two things integrate often, I I think it's really important for us to understand our identity and our worth outside of our job. Then we're going to talk about remembering your why and what your why is. Why did you choose after school? Why did you choose youth development? And then we'll end with a question and answer session, which is usually my favorite part because we can just have some organic conversations. I do have a really big disclaimer here, though, for everyone. As Billy mentioned, my name is Brandy Harris. I'm the CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield, in Springfield, Missouri. I became the CEO when I was 32 years old, and I was the first female CEO for this organization. Also was one of the youngest CEOs in the Boys and Girls Clubs of America movement. I spent so much time trying to figure out, like, what does a CEO do, right? Like, I started so naive. I thought, oh my gosh, everyone is going to love me in this role. People are going to donate money. There are going to be clubs on every corner, and everyone's going to be so happy I'm in this role. And then it just completely, like, reality hit. There were some people who were so unbelievably unkind. There were people who, quote, no longer supporting Boys and Girls Club because I'm a woman and that other guy should have gotten the job. I just started to completely lose myself, like lose my identity. I would peruse Pinterest and look, like, what does a CEO dress like? How does the CEO talk? I would become like a shell of myself in meetings. Like, if I'm about to say something, will it sound CEO-ish enough to be taken seriously? I would listen to so many inputs of advice from different people through different walks of my life, through mentors, etc. And I would just soak in everything they said. I would take it as gospel, and I completely lost myself. So the big disclaimer for our discussion today is, please take what works for you and leave what doesn't. Each one of you are a part of this summit, or you're a leader, you care about after school, you have best practices too. The things I'm going to share with you today are just things that have worked for me over the past 10 years in youth development, and more specifically, over the last 3 years in this role as CEO. So I hope everyone understands the purpose of this is just to share things that have worked for me. So I'm just going to assume all of you are nodding your head like, I agree to this disclaimer, and I'm going to take what works for me and leave what doesn't. Right? Oh, I have a yes in the chat. Oh my gosh, HG055, thank you for saying sounds good. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is leading with purpose in your professional life. I have 5 best practices for you. The first is a listening and learning tour. The second is developing organizational core values. The third is building trust with your teams. The fourth is telling stories. And the fifth is celebrating success. So I'm just going to take each one of these and give you a little bit of information about each of them. The very first thing I'm going to talk to you about is a listening and learning tour. I've probably said this phrase like 600,000 times since I started in this role. But when I first started this job, I was like, guns ablaze, so excited, ready to go. And I'm naturally solution oriented. So anytime I hear a problem, I want to fix it. And some of the greatest professional advice that I ever received was from our board. The board said, Brandy, you got to slow down and you got to listen. So I spent 6 months listening and learning. And it was incredible. I did focus groups, surveys, one-on-ones with staff members, club members, parents, partners, teachers, donors, volunteers, you named it. I listened. I soaked up as much information as I could, and it was so remarkably rewarding because when I was able to cast a vision as the new CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs, it was not just my vision, it was all of ours. I also learned some very key findings that were integral to the future of the organization. So for example, everyone that I talked to compiled that information, assessed the data, realized that 96% of people I interacted with knew the Boys and Girls Club logo. Like, the brand recognition was there. Arguably the hard part was done. They knew the hand clasp, they knew the logo. Less than 60% had an adequate pulse on what Boys and Girls Club does every single day for kids. Now keep in mind, all these people I'm interacting with are people who have some sort of connection to the Boys and Girls Club. So I just imagine the general population outside of that group is much lower. So we knew we had some very real educational opportunities during my first year in the community, and that was very valuable. Also, this little word bubble down here, one of the questions that was asked was, when you think of Boys and Girls Club, give me one word to describe it. And those were the results. I'm so happy that fun is that large. Like, crazy is like also large, but you all, I assume, working after school, so I'm sure you know what that word means in this context. So this listening and learning tour, I would absolutely recommend it. It helps you understand the people that you're advocating for every single day. It helps you, reminds you of your purpose. Also, I'm committed to doing these every 3 years because things and needs change. It can be as simple or as involved as you want it. And after this whole presentation is over, I'm going to send Billy this slide deck, and it has integrated links to a lot of the things we're talking about. So all this information, if there's anything that you want, it should be in this presentation. Next, core values. I'm going to start by telling you how this process started. Core values are basically things that are inherent to you or to your organization, things that you value. You're welcome, Heather. Things that you value, things that are really important to you. So this section is going to cover developing core values for your organization. Here's kind of a timeline. In March 2020, I don't know if you guys remember, but that was not the best time. 12 of us sat in a room and we learned, look, the world is changing. How can we shift to meet the needs of our families? We know we can't safely accommodate them the way we traditionally do before and after school. So what can we do as an organization to still provide some semblance of normalcy for our families? 12 of us sat in a room. We decided that our 3 traditional locations were going to turn into food distribution sites. We surveyed our families and we said, what is the thing you need the most right now? And by far, it was access to food. If you remember March 2020, even though so many of our families qualified for government assistance, they couldn't find food or necessary items on the shelves. So we capitalized on our resources. We worked very diligently to turn our 3 of our 8 locations into food distribution sites. In April of 2020, we were continuing to respond to COVID. We were doing virtual check-ins with our kids. In May 2020, we were able to open our doors on a very small scale to serve the kids who needed us most. And then in June 2020, and I mean, up until now, we're rebuilding from all of the effects that COVID had on our communities, our lives, etc. People often ask me what my greatest professional moment is, and it is this. We shifted significantly during COVID-19. We conducted 3,000 wellness checks, served 44,000 meals. We shifted to a huge virtual platform. It was so important for us to maintain meaningful connections with our kids. We partnered with community organizations to give health and hygiene items to the families that needed us most. One of my favorite parts about this whole shift was that we served 575 people in the community that were not at all connected to Boys and Girls Club. Most of them are now. We retained 96 jobs and just shifted their essential duties. And what's so remarkable about people who work in the industry that we do, essentially in March, everybody got new job descriptions, and most of them were just like, okay, whatever it takes to meet the needs of the kids and families in this community. And I imagine most of the people on this call work with or are people who have that same mentality. So this whole response to COVID, and let's be honest, like we're still dealing with it. But this whole response to COVID was a key part of developing our core values. Here's how it worked. I reviewed data and feedback from the listening and learning tour, primarily the staff responses. I intentionally thought about our operation over the previous few months. So like, how did we shift and respond during COVID? I intentionally thought about our operation over the previous 8 years, or eight decades. Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield has been a staple in the Springfield community for 83 years. What have we been doing for 83 years? It has to be something that works, right? Because otherwise we wouldn't be here. Then staff members got in a room and we developed our core values. The first is we're member-centered. So every single decision we make starts with the question, is this good for kids? They're the motivation behind everything we do. Also, that first core value makes every decision so much easier and reminds you of your purpose. The second is we're intentional. We try to do everything on purpose. We're deliberate and we try to make well-informed decisions. Third, we're adaptable. If you work in before or after school care or youth development, like you can plan for 30 kids to come in and like have a session plan, and then all of that just goes out the window. Every single person on this session right now is adaptable, and our organization is. The fourth is we're altruistic. Most of us are in these roles because we care deeply about our community and our kids, and we try really hard to put our mission over our egos. We're relevant, we continue to shift and respond to the needs of our kids. And finally, we're accountable, we own our mistakes, we own our decisions, we own our performance. These 6 core values are posted in our conference room. They're posted at each one of our 8 locations. These words are integrated into regular conversations. If a staff member notices that another staff member is doing something that aligns with one of these values, they will say it. This makes decision-making so much easier. There's a lot, I assume there's a lot of very valuable information that's going to come out of this presentation, but this, if you do not have core values for your organization, I would love to help you with that process if you need help or guidance, but it truly does make such a difference on the culture and remembering your why and the purpose behind what you do. We recently just turned it into a recognition program. Here's how it works. A staff member does something that upholds or promotes one of our core values. The CEO, me, presents the staff member with an enamel pin and a description, a detailed description of why a staff member earned it. And then if they earn a collection of all 6, they'll get a prize carefully curated just for them. Not only does that bring me an intense amount of joy, but also staff members, we did a culture assessment. We had doctoral students come in and do a Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield culture assessment. And one of the key findings was staff members want to be recognized more by their direct supervisor, and they want to be recognized more by me. They want me present in their buildings. They want me pointing out things that they're doing that are working, things that make me proud of them, etc. Which for me, I will be just totally transparent. It's kind of like, I want to recognize staff for the things that they do, but this could be a full-time job for me. And how do I fit it into my regular, responsibilities? But it is so unbelievably important. And I will tell you, this little $2 pin makes such an incredible impact on staff performance and development. So steal it if you want it, and I can give you the resources. I can do whatever will be helpful for you. So that's core values. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about, and also this is where I'm going to have you engage a little bit, and it might seem weird, like why is build trust a part of this section? But I'm telling you, if everyone on your team has mutual trust with each other, it is much easier to lead with purpose. It is much easier for your team members to lead with purpose. And I think this is the section I'm going to talk the most about, and these are best practices. Thank you, Lisa. I'll share it with you. You can have whatever you want. Building trust with your team, remarkably important. Here are four ways to do this. First, provide opportunities to your team. Second, embrace vulnerability. Third, promote radical clarity. And fourth, value your employees. First, provide opportunities, networking opportunities in the community. Instead of being the leader who is always attending them, give that opportunity to one of your staff members. Also, we have 115 staff across the city of Springfield. Having internal networking opportunities is also very valuable. So when we all get together, we can share ideas, we can network, we can get to know each other, and then we can realize like we're all a part of this bigger thing. And it can be very special and meaningful. The second is professional development. I am not sure how everyone's budgets work here, but this is something I had to fight for when I first became CEO, building in a much larger professional development line item in our overall budget. That's how you retain staff. I think everyone here knows staff members, employees are like in control. The Great Resignation happened. It's still happening. Listening to your people and providing them with opportunities that they want or that you believe they can benefit from, build it into your budgets. The last way to provide opportunities, this is something we just recently implemented and I think can be copy pasted into any after school world, cohorts. So that culture study I talked to you about before about recognition, another key finding was that staff members were like, I want to do things outside of my regular job description, which was like, I can't imagine many industries have that same problem, right? Like, I don't know how many times before COVID I heard that's not in my job description, or that's above my pay grade, which are two things that I just can't. Anyway, but they wanted opportunities to like grow. And this was kind of difficult to it took some intentionality and time at the beginning, but good news, you don't have to do it because I've already done it, and you can just choose what works for you. We developed 4 cohorts. They are all staff-led. I am not a part of any of these cohorts. I assign the yearly budget and that's it, and provide support if people ask for it and need it. The first is a training cohort. So we have professional development days peppered throughout our entire year. We have training weeks, we have professional development opportunities, but all of that is led by our training cohort. The second is the fun cohort, and this cohort is responsible for holiday parties or staff recognition, peer-to-peer staff recognition. They recently just planned a staff date at Firehouse Pottery, which is a local pottery place where you paint it and then you wait like 3 weeks to get it back and then you forget about it and then you go get it. Yeah. So the fun cohort is all about bonding and togetherness. The member experience cohort is all about events for kids. Also the administration of our National Youth Outcomes Initiative survey. So a survey that members 9 and up take, and it measures their experience, their fun, just their overall experience at the club. They're responsible for administering that. They're also responsible for big events like talent shows, etc. And then finally, the donor stewardship cohort. We had some staff members who really wanted to understand the resource development side of things. So this cohort is designed to come up with creative ways to thank donors, engage with donors. They put together newsletters for donors, etc. What's so cool is like a lot of the things that I just talked to you about were things that were partially on my plate before and are no longer. And it's just executed so much better because it's staff led and they take complete ownership. Each training cohort has some keywords that they're responsible for. They have a key core value that is aligned with what the cohort does. They have a meeting time, a yearly budget, and this is my favorite part about cohorts. It includes all levels of the org. So you've got frontline staff members, you've got directors, you've got senior leadership on these cohorts, even board members serve on some of them. So a really good resource and a really good way to provide opportunities with your people. How does this build trust? If I say I trust you to execute X, Y, and Z, that's an incredible feeling for the staff member and also an incredible feeling for me. So I would just absolutely encourage a model like this if it works for you. Other ways to build trust, embracing vulnerability. This one has been remarkably difficult for me, but I'm getting so much better at it, especially when you're starting off as a leader. And I feel like many of us, and you can put this in the chat if you've had a similar experience, but most of what has been modeled for me as a leader is like somebody who knows what they're doing all the time. And then you get into the position and then it's like, oh, I know nothing. I know things, but it's like when you embrace vulnerability, it absolutely builds trust with your teams. So I would encourage you to role model honesty and transparency, be honest about you needing help and support from your team, admit when you don't know something. This was a really hard pill for me to swallow, but like I can go through boys and girls clubs, I can go through our locations and like recognize some safety things, but can I do it better than our director of safety whose like passion is seeing everything through the lens of safety? Absolutely not. I want to rely on my team members and have trust in them to execute their roles. It also makes them feel like they're the expert, and chances are they probably are. Talk about fear and trust. A perfect example of this was in 2019, we decided to apply for our first 21st century grant. This was 3 months into my tenure and I was becoming so overwhelmed with the outside noise. This application for the first time was incredibly intense. I walked into a room when we were having a 21st century committee meeting, walked into a room and I said, I don't know if we can do this. I don't know if we should be applying for this right now. And that's how I was honestly feeling. I was so overwhelmed in that moment. And my team members talking like, yeah, it was just, can we remember why we're doing this? We're doing this so we can open a new location and serve 200 new kids. It's hard right now, but you have all of us to rely on, plug us in where you need us, etc. I was able to talk about how I was truly feeling in a moment, and then I got such incredible support from my team. That doesn't happen overnight. That trust had to be built by doing some of the things I've already mentioned. But when we're honest about fear and trust, I really believe it helps your whole team dynamic. The final is rid your culture of shame and blame. I've already mentioned this. People will leave. Employees, I'm sure everybody here, can you just raise your hand or put a little like sticker emoji or whatever if you're fully staffed and don't have any problems with staffing. Okay. I can't see everyone at the same time, but I'm not seeing any right now. Employees are in charge. Like, they can leave at any point, and if they don't have the culture and the experiences that they want and enjoy and need in the workplace, they'll leave. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes people need to not be in youth development. But if there are public meetings where you know, like in Game of Thrones, when, well, surely you don't have people, okay. Well, like Game of Thrones, whenever they're like shaming whatever her name is, don't do that, number one. But number two, I've been in many meetings in my professional career where people are publicly humiliated. It's awful. No one loves it, so don't do it. Next way to build trust is to promote radical clarity. The term radical clarity came from my husband, and I use it all the time, and it is incredibly helpful for me. He also quotes this Brene Brown quote, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And anytime you ask staff members what they want more of, they're probably going to say money, communication, recognition. Communication will never reach an end point, right? It's fluid. We will always be working really hard to create clarity and communicate better for the rest of our careers. Some things that have worked really well for me is to learn my team's communication styles. We've done the Enneagram, Clifton Strengths. I know people who love the predictive index. There are lots of resources out there for you, and I will also link them to this presentation. Some of them cost money, some of them don't. But my biggest advice here is when you learn a communication style, you continue to do something with it, right? Like just knowing it isn't that, it's kind of helpful, but it's not as helpful as actually diving deep into it and learning how people communicate and why they communicate the way they do. The second is effective meetings. 4 things I recommend here: know the purpose, the participants, the length, and the type. I think every one of us has probably been in a meeting where we're like, this could have been an email. This didn't need to be a meeting. Why am I here? I hate it all. If you can answer these questions, usually your meetings will be more effective. This last one is remarkably boring, but important. When a staff member goes through orientation in their first week, they review their employee handbook and policies. I don't assume many people read that entire handbook. So if you pepper it into your meetings, like here's a reminder of our social media policy, here's a reminder of our one-on-one prohibition policy, etc. Just peppering those into meetings can help people remember, or just help people clearly understand your policies that you have in place. It can be a very easy thing to add to an agenda. The last is valuing employees. It builds trust with your people. Ask them how they like to be valued. Some people like a parade. They like a big award. Other people like a handwritten note. Like, value people the way they want to be valued. That can be done with an assessment or during a check-in, if informal conversation. Highlight, recognize, and celebrate successes. I've talked to you about one recognition program that we have. Also, having a peer-to-peer recognition program is very helpful. Provide flexibility for your people. This shows that you value your employees. So if there are any employees that can work from home, we have a work from home policy that I'm happy to that will be linked to this presentation. If you're frontline with kids, you can't work from home, but there are some jobs where you can be a little more flexible. And the last thing, and this was difficult for me to learn, but leaders need to be present. So I've committed to doing those listening and learning tours every 3 years. I do random walkthroughs, I do scheduled walkthroughs. Being present is very important. People want to show you as leaders what they are working on, what they're doing, etc. Okay, here's a chance for you to share some ways that you build trust with your teams, or that you want to build trust, or if you have any questions about the 4 things I just shared with you. I imagine there are some experts on in this session right now who have found some best practices for building trust with their teams. So I'd love for you to share those things in the chat, and I'll give you just a second to do so. Show failures. Billy, yes. I think that goes, if I'm understanding you correctly, I think that goes right along with embracing vulnerability. Like, as leaders, as organizations, sometimes we fail, and there's so much negativity associated with failure in general, but like honestly, I don't want to sound so cliche, but we learn a lot from those moments too. Any other ways that encourage staff to hold you accountable? Okay, Mark, snaps for Mark. One-on-one meetings and building connections through personal stories and sharing. Caitlin, you should be doing this presentation with me. I'm so excited. I'm so happy to hear this. And also give the staff time off when they need it. Yes. So many times we just become the job, and it seems like it's impossible to even take time off because the workload when you come back is going to be so big. But if you also model that as a leader, it helps other people. It helps other people like know that it's okay to take time off. Thank you all so much. This is icebreaker activities, fun games to get to know each other. So we remember we're still human and not just workers. Oh, not just robots. You guys, I wish we all worked together. You can come, we need staff. So you can come work at Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield any day. Missouri's like a little bigger than South Dakota. Actually, I don't even know if that's true. Billy, you can help me. As a manager, delegating shows trust in others. Absolutely. That was so hard for me to do when I shared about cohorts. Like I had to give up some control of the things I like to do and the things I felt like I was the only one capable of doing. But then staff members do it so much better because they're excited about it and they feel like we trust them. One of my staff said yesterday, more time to have fun and interact with one another. You guys, I have a whole list of icebreakers. I can tell you all of this stuff that our fun cohort has planned, and you can just copy paste. Building trust is creating a good space for employees to be honest about work, about how they're feeling. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this. And hopefully maybe Billy or Holly, if you can save the chat, I'd love to include this in the presentation, the responses from people. I don't know if you can do that.
They do. We record these, and any type of questions and stuff get put to the side and we address them later. So
this is being recorded. I'm just kidding. I'm pretty sure I made a Game of Thrones joke that is not appropriate for after school, but this is a safe place. I've built trust with you. We're fine. Okay, thank you so much for sharing. The next thing, which I'm pretty sure Caitlin kind of mentioned, leading with purpose, telling stories. I have a video for you to watch, and I hope you enjoy it. If someone can just give me like a thumbs up in the chat that you can hear it when I play it, that would be very helpful.
For our entire lives, we're surrounded by stories, and they can be incredibly powerful in communicating ideas. I'm going to share with you the 4 reasons why stories have such power, and I'm going to do this in the form of a story. 2 tribesmen, Brian and Kevin, are on their first ever hunt. From within the thick brush, a twig snaps. From nowhere, a tiger pounces and grabs Kevin by the neck. There is nothing Brian can do, and in seconds, Kevin is no more. Another twig snaps, and Brian runs. Just in time, he reaches a tree, scrambles to the top, and looks down to see a tiger circling below. At dawn, Brian runs back to the village and tells everyone about the snapping twig, the savage tiger, and the life-saving tree. Oh, and about poor Kevin. The story here is acting as a vessel for information. The villagers who listen learn the lessons and live longer. Over time, evolution has hardwired the need for stories into our brains. Brian's tale went viral. The villagers put writing and images on each other's walls. In no time, everyone had learnt the vital survival techniques. Over the next few years, Brian retold the story many times. The vivid details would chill the blood of his audience. They would jump at the twig breaking, wince at the neck snapping, and feel their pulse race as the tiger gives chase. This is because stories can create emotional connection. A good story well told makes our brain simulate what it would be like to actually live those events. Our body can't tell the difference, so it reacts as it would in real life. This is why a horror story is scary despite not presenting any danger. Decades later, Brian passed away. At his funeral, people from all the surrounding tribes paid their respects and shared stories of Brian. Here, storytelling is creating and displaying cultural identity. Culture can be defined as the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, and so they are a way of sharing who we are. For generations to come, children sat in enthralled silence as they listened to elders tell the tale of Brian and the deadly tigers. And this is our final power of storytelling. As any parent knows, if you want someone to do something, you had better make it fun. Evolution has made the three most important things in life deeply enjoyable. Fuel, sex, and survival have become cuisine, love, and stories. Each taps into a raw human desire, and fulfilling them gives us a kind of happiness hundreds of thousands of years in the making. Our modern lives look very different to Brian's, but inside each of us lurks an inner villager on the hunt for fuel, sex, and survival. So, if we want to communicate facts or information, then stories are a powerful vessel to do so. At the National Trust, we don't need fiction. Our people and places are teeming with powerful stories. We should always be on the hunt for true narratives, which are both entertaining and which reveal something about the spirit of the places we protect.
Okay, ignore the sex part, but quick retelling of what Sir Ian McKellen just shared with us in that video. Stories are vessels for information, stories create emotional connection, stories create and display cultural identity, and stories are fun and engaging. I feel so much more connected to my work, the mission, if someone is giving a presentation, when I hear a story. It also helps me remember. So like this example here, I can say to a donor, did you know that Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield serves X number of meals and X number of snacks in a given year? Or I can use an actual story that happened from the club. So for example, Melanie came to the club, and she seemed unlike her usual self. She seemed low energy and sad. Usually she comes to the club and is high energy and excited. A staff member checked in with her and asked how she was doing, and Melanie replied, "I don't feel good today. I got in trouble at school." She continued to share with her staff member and explained that my bad day started in the morning. I got to school late and I missed breakfast. We don't have food at home. I was so hungry and I couldn't focus. The staff member asked if she'd like a snack and she immediately agreed. Later that day, she enjoyed a hot dinner cooked by Miss Regina at the Henderson unit. The club then sent her home with an overnight food bag, and Melanie's mom came to the club next day thanking us profusely. We were then able to connect them to a family, or connect the family to a local food resource. This is something we do, and while this story is unique, it's not necessarily unique because we help bridge the food gap for our families. That's something a donor or someone in the community is going to remember more than just a plain statistic. So pretty sure some of you shared, yeah, I'm pretty sure some of you shared that sharing stories is really important. It's not just important with your staff members, but it helps with donors, with the community, etc. This is real. You don't even have, it's not like you have to make anything up when it comes to after school. These are things that happen in our clubs and our organizations on a regular basis. So being able to share these stories with your people can truly achieve these 4 things on the screen. The last way to lead with purpose in your professional life that I want to talk about, and I'm going to ask for your engagement again, is to celebrate success. I'm casting a wide net here, but I assume everyone on this call works very hard, very seldomly takes time to sit in the moment after we experience a success. And both staff members on the front line, leaders, we all need moments to celebrate successes. Usually it's like, okay, I accomplished this thing, it's on to the next thing. So what I would love for you to do, I don't care if it's personal or professional, something in your mind that's big or small, can you share something in the chat that you are proud of, that is something, it's a success for you in your professional or personal life. I would love to hear so many things. This would make me. Also, I don't know if it's easier if you just want to come on screen and say it. You're more than welcome to. But I'm going to I'm not forcing you. I want to have your consent, but I want you to celebrate some successes. I know you have them. Like, did you put pants on today? Success. Did you open a new location to serve youth before and after school? Success. Also, before I entered youth development in the after school world, I was a teacher. So I'm like so good at waiting until people answer. The South Dakota After School Network is moving from 1 staff to 5. One of the things that I'm not very good at is like math, but I'm pretty sure that's like 500% increase. Is that right? That's like 1,000,000% increase.
Those are good math skills today.
Thank you.
Did you get that from the Learning Center?
I did not. I did it on my calculator. That's not showing on screen. So thank you. Let's see. Amy and Mark, we had 60 kids ice fishing with 60 pro fishermen last Saturday. Our banquet that night also became our largest fundraiser. I wish I had like a rap horn so I could like wah, 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 every time someone shares something. That's huge. Also, probably an experience that kids would not have otherwise, ice fishing. Also, Mark, are you in South Dakota? Is that something you guys do there? Oh, great. 60 pro, so was your ratio like 1-to-1? This is amazing. Also, congratulations on your largest fundraiser. And Sandra, Amy, Stephanie, Laura, Jessica, Dawn, Lisa, Allie. Yes, they caught 250 pounds of ice. Wait. Oh, okay. I actually fell for that. So, Dawn, we have 10 graduated students returning for a leadership group I host every Wednesday. Incredible. Also, when you say graduated, does this mean like they've graduated high school or they've graduated a class, high school, and they're returning? So you mean to tell me like 17, 18, 19-year-olds are choosing to come back and engage? That's a huge success. You guys, snaps for Dawn, snaps for Mark, even though he tricked me. I have a gal with me listening right now. Oh my God, what's her name? Can you put her on the screen? I just wish we could see each other. Hi, congratulations. Okay. Anyone else want to share a success?
Oh hey, Brandy.
Can you see me? Yeah, I don't know how any of this works. Oh my God, hello. Congratulations. When did you graduate high school?
It was in November, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Congratulations. Huge accomplishment. High school is hard, especially now. I'm so proud of you. And also, Dawn, slay. I love both of you so much. I am so happy you shared this. Thank you. Sandra, I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm adding a higher age group to our license so we can serve middle schoolers. First of all, the fact that you want to serve middle schoolers, you're an angel. They're incredible. They need us. They need after school time. And you're doing the hard work to get it done. Anytime anybody needs a quick pick me up, or I love middle schoolers too. Look, they smell, but here's the deal. They love Takis. You can get them to do anything if you provide them food. You can get them to come to like programs that they wouldn't normally come to if you give them food. I love that age. It is such a crucial time. I'm about to share a little bit about that in a second, but these are not little things. All of the things everyone shared, thank you so much. I'm so happy, and thankful to be here with you. Let's do this every day. We'll just start every Wednesday. We'll hop on a call together and just share successes. Okay, congratulations. And for those of you who didn't share, I know you have them. And congrats. Okay, I'm shifting now to leading with purpose in your professional life. This is a much shorter section, but I believe equally as important. I believe it is very important for us to understand our worth outside of our jobs. And here are a couple ways to do that. First, developing your own personal core values. And I'm going to share some resources and some easy ways to do that. And the second is prioritizing your mental health. First, there's so much text on this. I know, I hate it, but I wanted you to see it all. Brene Brown, Dare to Lead is one of my favorite leadership books. She talks about developing your own personal core values. I did this activity with all of my leadership staff. And there were tears, there was laughter. It was just incredibly emotional. It happened like in July of 2020. So everybody was like, the world's on fire, what's happening? But this was so powerful. Here's why I believe this is important. Your core values are things that are inherent to you, things that you believe in without fail. They're important because it helps you make decisions. If you know that a core value is inherent to you, it's a lot easier to make important decisions throughout the day. I'm sure people on this call, at some point in the day, you reach decision fatigue, right? Like you have been making important decisions all day, and decisions that affect people, right? It's not like, do I use this green plate to plate my dinner or this blue plate? No, you're making decisions that impact thousands of kids and families. So your own personal value, your own personal core values can really help you navigate some of those decisions. It helps you know what's non-negotiable for you. We become clear about what we believe and hold important, and we take our words, intentions, thoughts, and behaviors, and we align those beliefs. So here's how the activity works. And I've linked at the bottom how to do the activity with your team, or if you want to do this on your own, but I'll just give you a quick overview. She gives you this massive list of core values. You go through, and it's kind of hard, right? Like you go through and you highlight or circle the things that are really important to you. I started with about 15. The goal is to narrow it down to around 2 or 3 values that are non-negotiables for you. So as you're looking at this list, if you see anything that stands out to you, you can name a couple in the chat, anything that stands out to you that are like inherent values to who you are as a person. Yeah, share them in the chat if you want. For me, when I did this exercise, it took a long time, but belonging was a core value for me. I don't want people to feel left out of place, uncomfortable. I want to have a sense of belonging for all the kids who enter our club. I want to have a sense of belonging for people in my community, like you belong here. That is a non-negotiable for me. Stephanie, dignity, incredible. I imagine having that as a core value for you, you have a lot more clarity on what is non-negotiable, right? Like if someone asks you to do something, or if you're put in a situation, you uphold your value and it helps you make decisions a lot easier. Yeah, anybody else have anything that immediately sticks out? You can share if you, collaboration, optimism, and reliability. Oh, also, I can tell you all work in youth development, because when I do this with people who aren't, they're like power, pride, and which is fine because everybody has their own thing, but like, yeah, you guys are incredible. Okay, gratitude, vulnerability, connection, giving thanks, being vulnerable and honest, connecting with people. Billy, yes, those are you to a T. I would encourage you to do this for yourself. I would encourage you to do this with your teams. Start big, narrow down to 3 at the most. Okay. The next, you can tell I didn't spend too much time on this slide because I don't even really think that we need to. This, I just need you to hear me. Get a therapist. There's no like recipe or ingredient you need to possess in order to feel valued, heard, or understood. Every single one of us needs to be treated with dignity, feel valued, heard, understood, period. Period with a T, thank you very much. Find your circle. When I first started this job, my circle was my husband and my dog, which is just a triangle actually. But when you rely on your relationships, your romantic relationships or your partner relationships to just decompress and word vomit after work every day. It takes a toll on the relationship. Find your friends who are supportive. Find a circle of people that listen to you without judgment, that help you get excited, that go on trips with you, etc. And if you're like, I don't have a circle, well, I'm in it now. So you have a line at least. Yeah. Understand your identity outside of work. Can you please raise your hand or give me a emoji or something if you have felt like your entire identity is the work that you do? I have felt that. I still do. I'm in therapy because I didn't take my own advice. Yeah, this job was everything. My identity, my worth was my productivity. Yeah. So prioritize your mental health. And if you need help doing this, please rely on me. If you don't know where to start, please rely on me. My information's at the end of this. Okay, here is your remembering your why part of this session. I'm going to share with you a video and then a bit about my path, and then I want you to share your path with me. I'm going to go a little out of order here. So in closing, I just want to tell you why I'm in the position that I'm in. I grew up all over the country. I attended 13 different schools before I moved to Springfield, Missouri for my 8th grade year. I became a Reed Beaver. That's actually a mascot, simultaneously the best and worst mascot in the entire world. But that was my middle school year, and we just kind of talked about middle school, how formative and important it is. Springfield was truly the first place I was able to call home. My mom was married 7 times, and each one of those husbands were not great. But I had experiences that helped inform my work today. Then I entered high school in Springfield, Missouri. I become a senior. I'm starting to find myself. I'm like telling jokes. I'm talking. I'm not quiet anymore. I'm feeling supported by my teachers, by friends, etc. In my senior year, I was nominated for homecoming queen. And I know all of you are like, Brandy, you're 35, like get over it. But here's the reason I share this, because I had a moment that helped serve as a catalyst for the rest of my career. I was nominated for homecoming queen. I was so excited. But then there was this tradition where each homecoming queen candidate had to wear a white dress. I had already received a dress that was sewn to fit me. We were very poor. There was no way I could ask my mom for a white dress. The very next day, my principal, Dr. Julie Leith, who is still a mentor to me to this day, called my mom into her office and gave my mom $200 and said, go buy Brandy the dress of her dreams. And 2 things happened there. First, she had a pulse on her students and she knew what they needed before they even had to tell her. And the second is that she knew that I needed a sense of belonging, that I didn't want to feel left out in such a pivotal time in my life. And I'm wearing that white dress in this picture. And that's what part of the reason I've dedicated my life to after school and to the work that I do, is so that kids have equal access to opportunity and their experience does not define them. I entered teaching. I realized I loved youth service. I wanted to educate. I wanted to serve people, primarily kids. Then I found the right youth service for me. I actually moved to Lawrence, Kansas, thinking I would continue teaching, but there were no teaching jobs available. Like honestly, legitimately, I applied for 62 different jobs. After months of no callbacks or anything, I received a phone call from Boys and Girls Clubs in Lawrence, Kansas, and they said, hey, we want you to be our AmeriCorps staff, and we're gonna pay you $300 a month. I thought to myself, okay, $300 better than $0. I will take it. I fell in love. It's all of the best parts of teaching. I worked very, very, very hard. And my passion for this work, I think, showed. And today, I am the CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield. Actually feels very nice to say. Sometimes I forget, you know, when you see it on a timeline, it's kind of nice. But in those first 6 months, as I mentioned before, it was very difficult. People were very unkind, and I had a lot of noise. People saying they didn't want to support me or the club anymore because I was a woman, no longer donating because they didn't trust me, et cetera, et cetera. At 6 months, I actually wrote a resignation letter to my board. Like, I love this place, I love this job. There's no way I can do this anymore. It's taking a toll on my mental health. I can't handle it. And my office is connected to a Boys and Girls Club, which is really convenient. So I wrote the letter, I printed it out, and I decided to go for a walk around the Stallmaker unit, which is the club that we're attached to. And yeah, I'm walking around and I see, you know, kids playing foosball and a kid in the corner eating Cheetos and a staff member helping another kid with homework. And I'm hearing laughter and I'm smelling food in the kitchen. And this young girl runs up to me and says, "Who are you?" I was like, "Great greeting, thank you. My name is Brandy." And she said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm the CEO of Boys and Girls Club." And she said, "What's the CEO?" And then I explained in just like simple terms for a 7-year-old to understand, like just a leader and somebody who cares a lot about kids and somebody who works with other staff members to make sure that kids have all the stuff that you see in this building, etc. And she looked at me and stared at me for a couple minutes and then said, "Okay, well, I want to be a CEO too." And then she took my bracelet, which I still haven't gotten back. But in that moment, I realized, oh, okay, this is all bigger than like my feelings getting hurt or like someone calling and saying, "I don't like you." Okay, this is so much bigger. This is my why, to show young girls that it's possible, to make sure kids have a sense of belonging when they enter our doors. These are moments that I have to force myself regularly to remember because this job is hard. After school is hard, and every single one of you knows that. I don't think I have time to show this video. Billy, can you give me a yes or no? It's about 3 minutes long.
You can finish up. Yeah, absolutely. We're okay.
Okay. So I'm going to share this video with you, and then I would love for you all to share with me if you have anything to add. Okay, here we go.
How do I know? A lot of people, when they think of the phrase, how do I know, they always want to put the what behind it. How do I know what I'm supposed to do? The question that you really should ask is, how do I know why I'm here? Because when you know your why, your what becomes more clear and more impactful. If you know, like for instance, people know that I do comedy, but that's what I do. My why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. So I can do comedy, I can write books, I can be in a movie, because all of it is motivated by my why. In fact, I have a new web series out called Michael Jr. Break Time. We probably just did the 6th episode. It's on YouTube. So every single Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode on YouTube of Michael Jr. Break Time. What it is it's me. I travel around the country and I do stand-up comedy, in case you didn't know. And in the middle of my comedy set sometime, I'll stop and just talk to my audience. And we've been filming this, and it's, you know, it's pretty cool. So we're in Winston-Salem. I'm gonna show you a clip from Winston-Salem. And I'm just talking to this guy in the audience, and he tells me that he's a musical instructor at a school. So I was like, all right, you're a musical instructor, you know, can you sing? Let me hear you sing a song. So this is what happened at the last episode of Michael Jr.'s Break Time. Check it. So you're a musical director? Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow. That bro could sing, you know what I'm saying? All right. Now, what you give me the version is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now, right now I'm found, was blind, but now I see.
Okay. Here's what I want you to catch. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what becomes more impactful because you're walking towards or in your purpose.
Wasn't that so good? I have showed it to pretty much every person that works at Boys and Girls Club because this work, you can become very overwhelmed at times. Also, the nature of the work that we're doing sometimes can be very overwhelming, can trigger past experiences. But when you remember your why and why you decided to choose this as a career, it can be remarkably powerful. So I just encourage you all to schedule time to to know your why. And if anyone right now is willing or able or wants to share, I would love to hear it. Or if you want to share it privately, whatever. But the goal here is for you to remember the why behind your work, why you chose after school. Yeah, so just some final thoughts. First, I want to thank you so much for sharing space and time with me today. I'm so happy to be able to share these things that have worked for me with you. Listen and learn, work on being an active listener. This was very difficult for me. An active listener means you are listening without the intent to respond. So you are soaking in information and then you can respond to that information at a later time. Determine your and your organization's core values, embrace vulnerability, find your circle and get a therapist. Remember to schedule time for your why. My therapist has literally told me on my calendar, you schedule times to go on tours of clubs. So the only way to create good change is to get involved and dedicate myself. Heather, literally, like there's going to be a quote of that somewhere, like in my office. Yeah. Understanding the role you play in all of this, absolutely important. Thank you. Remember, this is something I say almost every day at work. There are no neutral interactions with kids. Everything you do or everything you don't do has an impact or an effect on a child. So please remember that. Don't believe everyone's ideas, including mine. Take what works for you during this session. Remember that you are doing a great job. Like that. And find someone who can remind you of that. Your identity is bigger than your job. And then I made this little cute space here for your own thing that you want to add regarding final thoughts from this session today. I think the goal now is anybody, I think, who wants to go away can go away. And anybody who has any questions or wants to stay can stay. Here is my contact information. I did not include my MySpace account on here because I don't think it's active anymore. But when you get this, you'll be able to click direct link to follow or to connect with me on social media. My email address is here. I'm going to send this deck with all of the links and information. Feel free to take anything that works for you and use it. And then, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really prepare a closing for some reason. So I'm just going to bow and then everyone claps. Okay.
Everyone. Yes. Let's give it up for Brandy. Thank you so much